getting set up for a pivotal ASUN Conference contest inside the Hodge Center in Spartanburg, South Carolina. The Lipscomb Bison's in town out of the Music City. Welcome in, everybody, alongside of Tom Van Hoy, Jason Patterson. And Tom, it is not often you get to use the scouting report quite this quickly. These two teams are meeting for the second time in 6 days.
Yeah, last Wednesday, a game that Upstate really let get away. They led by as many as 21, 15 points at half, and struggled down the stretch, points off turnovers from the foul line. I think they're looking forward to getting back at it again against the Bison here tonight.
Garrison Matthews and company coming out on top in that one by a final of 84-77. So we take a look at the standings in the conference. You'll see just why this game is critical. Upstate needs a split to avoid losing the straight tiebreaker to Lipscomb. And you see that this, in essence, Tom, is a battle for the second spot in the conference right now. Only FGCU with a better record than these two.
Halfway through, ready to turn it back over again. Florida Gulf Coast has won 4 games league play by 4 points or less. Upstate, you look at what they've been able to do, the 2 losses. North Florida had a chance to win that one. The Lipscomb game had a chance to win that. For Lipscomb, it's their best start in 7 years. They like to keep it going. North Florida has beaten Lipscomb and Upstate so far this year.
Mentioned Garrison Matthews, both he and Cunningham, very important in that game a week ago. We'll talk about them, some of the storylines as we roll in here, but it's an important Lipscomb-Upstate clash here inside the Hodge Center tonight. Mentioned Cunningham just a moment ago, Tom. 22 points in the 79-73 win over Kennesaw State. We expect him to be huge for Upstate. And Garrison Matthews, well, he's only averaging right at 20 per contest coming in. Talking about the Franklin, Tennessee native, the hometown product for Lipscomb. Ball is in the air, and speaking of Mike Cunningham, he's the first to touch it for Upstate as they bring it up the floor for the initial offensive possession. Thank you for spending a part of your evening with us. A rare Monday basketball game in ASUN play. And as we've told you coming in, an important one in that Upstate needs a win to split the season home and home, now having rolled over into the second half of the conference schedule. And Lipscomb really putting themselves in the driver's seat for that second spot if they can secure a win on the road. Full shot clock in use. In fact, a shot clock violation. We'll hand it over to the Bisons. All right, Tom, wild possession changes. Give us a couple of keys to this basketball game.
Upstate's got to limit turnovers. We mentioned that briefly at the outset there. 29-3 advantage. Lipscomb had points off turnovers. You got to defend the 3. Lipscomb's going to put it up as much as anybody in the country. Don't foul. Lipscomb gets to the line more than anybody in Division I. And, you know, just take care of that basketball. You had an opportunity at a big lead at Lipscomb. See if you can settle down and get it done here today on your home floor.
Just as you talk about how important it will be for both teams to take care of the basketball. Upstate's first possession, a shot clock violation. Lipscomb throws the basketball away, and here come the Spartans as just 40 seconds into this contest. First point still up for grabs, and a little bit of length shown there by Garrison Matthews. Let's talk about the sophomore out of Franklin High School. Not only the 20 points per game, but right around 6 rebounds as well. He's got good size and certainly passes the eye test, Tom.
Yeah, 6'5 sophomore, 21 of 10, the win at NJIT last time out, and just an outstanding player so far this year, and be a key tonight.
Wild start to this one, and it's finally going to end up in the grasp of Josh Williams, and that is a name that has become familiar to you around the ASUN over the last several years. Williams, key contributor for Lipscomb as well. He averages double figures at 13.9, and the first points for Lipscomb belong to Marbury, and the Bisons are out on top 2-0. Marbury averages 11.7, Tom. There are 4 different players on this roster that average in double digits.
Same thing for USC Upstate in conference play. I mean, we have a really interesting matchup tonight. I mean, we'll talk about those on the floor as well. And you were talking about Garrison Matthews a minute ago, and he had 39 earlier this year and against Jacksonville, and had 36 against Morehead State. He can score, but so can a lot of his teammates as well.
And here is that explosive talent. Matthews a little strong on the back of the iron with that 3-point effort. It's Marbury, Williams, Moran, Pepper, Matthews, the 5 on the floor for Lipscomb to get things going. Eddie Payne and his staff going with Cunningham, Tompkins, Cuthbertson, Whittington, Moore. Tompkins coming off of an important evening, or afternoon, I should say, on the boards on Saturday. And here's Williams now with a 3 ball, and the Bisons quickly up 5-0. And Tompkins, as a result of that big day, gets the start.
Okay, 8 different players have started this year. I mean, really, it's kind of a revolving door and a rotation that Eddie Payne can go a lot of different ways.
It's going to be a travel on Moore, and we just told you Eddie Payne penciling in the lineup for Upstate. There is Casey Alexander. Only the 3rd coach at Lipscomb since 1975. Not a lot of turnover in the Music City, and Alexander already making his mark around the conference.
A couple years at Stetson, was a longtime assistant at Belmont as well. And if you're familiar with Nashville, you know that Belmont and Lipscomb just a couple of miles apart from one another. So very familiar with the culture of Lipscomb when he took over.
Yeah, big-time rivals as well right there, in close proximity to each other. There's a travel on the other end of the floor. A very, maybe sloppy is not the right word to use, as you get a look at Eddie Payne, over 220 wins in 15 years here at Upstate. But, Tom, there is no rhythm to this basketball game whatsoever through the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, you're right. And you're talking about an Upstate team that had that solid second half. The game you called 79-73 and needed that down by 5. And, has played really well, I think, for most of the season when you start talking about the 5-2 start and the 2 losses to North Florida and then to the Lipscomb team. In 2 games you thought maybe they could win.
Into the grasp of Moran. Boy, the pass to Marbury just out of his reach, and the fans inside the Hodge Center feel more like they're watching a ping pong match right now as it quickly goes back and forth. And Malik Moore able to sink a bucket. Spartans in the scorebook for the first time with 16.5 to play.
Yeah, needed that one. And Moore coming off 22 his last time out against Lipscomb as well. He played against Kennesaw State too. And how about Tompkins' block there?
Tompkins, the junior out of Georgia, defensively making a contribution. And then on the other end, Malik Moore finds another floor location, gets the same result. 2 threes for Moore, and the Spartans have their initial lead.
I'll tell you what, give him a chance. He can knock that down from long range.
Good turnaround by Marbury. Well, already evidenced that Marbury is going to be a big part of Casey Alexander's game plan inside.
Yeah, 6'7", sophomore, very active. He had 16 the first time these 2 teams play. He shoots 63% from the field. You can see why, that close to the basket with the left hand.
And guess what? A hand in the face of Moore by Matthews now, collapsing on the outside shooter. It seems to be heating up early. Cuthbertson trying to see if three-point land will be kind to the team as a whole. His shot is off, and that'll take us to the media timeout at the 15.5-minute mark. The Bisons up 1 after a wild start here in the Hub City. Well, the Lipscomb Bisons team off to its fastest league start in the Casey Alexander era. And actually the best league start they've had overall since 2009-2010 when they were 6-2. Both these teams are 5-2 coming in here, Tom. And this beginning of this basketball game, one that probably welcomed that timeout on both benches for Eddie Payne and Casey Alexander, really just to settle down their troops.
Yeah, wasn't much rhythm at all. We talked about it in the open. These teams played on Wednesday. Just kind of an anomaly, I guess, the last several years as far as the ASUN's concerned. You turn right back around, and Upstate's going to play Kennesaw State again here very soon as well. So we'll see after that first time out if both teams settle down.
Let's talk that for just a moment, Tom. What are the pluses and minuses of the familiarity that you get of playing a team that recently?
Well, I don't think you're going to see many changes in terms of what you saw the first time. I'd be surprised at that anyway. But let's say you played early January, and then maybe in mid-February you might be a completely different team as you develop your rotation and as things settle in, you get more familiar, you play better, or you make some changes. So I think pretty much what you see is what you're going to get, what you saw last Wednesday. And I think if you're Upstate, you feel good about 35 minutes of that game. But it was just tough down the stretch. Missed 6 out of 7 of the last 5 minutes of that ball game. Turned the ball over 3 times, and it was a Lipscomb team that took advantage of that. High-scoring team. This is the highest-scoring team Lipscomb in the ASUN, and the number 1 scoring defense in conference play, Upstate. So good matchup there on that end of the floor.
Having that 20-plus point lead has left a little bit of a bitter taste in the mouth of the Spartans, and they get a chance to quickly erase that. And Michael Buchanan, speaking of quickly, getting his first action, and they immediately go to the 7-footer inside, who lays it home for the lead.
Yeah, he's had a solid season, and has done a nice job when he started for much of the year, and also has done a nice job of coming off the bench Jason, because sometimes when you're used to starting and you want to start and that doesn't happen. But I think with this group we were talking about, principally Coach Payne plays 8 players, and they get multiple minutes, obviously, but in many different combinations. So I think you're going to get your numbers. You're going to get your minutes no matter whether you start or you come off the bench.
And here are the players getting some of those minutes right now. Coming in for Lipscomb in the last 2 substitutions, Buckland and then Cooper for Upstate. The combination of Spahn, Holmes, and Buchanan getting into the basketball game for the first time a moment ago. And Casey Alexander calling for a timeout. His team trailing at 8-7 with 14:45 to play. There you see the huddle for the Spartans as they gather up. And let's talk a little more about Buchanan. Sometimes they've used him in that starting role, as you said. Sometimes off the bench as it is here. But whatever the case, it seems so often, however he fares inside, especially in conference play the last couple of years, a direct correlation to the end result for Upstate.
Not many teams in the A-Sun have 7 feet, 265 inside. They have a lot of athletic 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" guys as well. So sometimes it's a matchup situation that you're looking for, and then you got to flip it around to the defensive end as well and see what kind of presence he can have there. So you do. This is an experienced Upstate team, and also it's an experienced Lipscomb team as well, with 4 returning starters from a year ago.
Marbury, who was having his way, at least on the offensive end of the floor early, now matched up against Buchanan down low. And it's going to be Cunningham from the outside. And the 3-point basket, very, very solid for Upstate in the early going.
Well, both these teams, and we'll get into it, as far as the ball going to go up from beyond the arc. Yep, from Lipscomb's standpoint, they make 10 per ball game. They're one of the best in the country in shooting the 3, and in terms of number of makes and attempts, and the same thing for Upstate as well. 3
of their 4 field goals to begin the basketball game of the 3-point variety, talking about Upstate. And here is Marbury, still successful inside. 6 points already on the board for Marbury. He has 6 of the Bison's 9.
Yeah, concentrated effort. We talked about the number of threes they've made, 242 over 600 attempts. They've made a concentrated effort to go inside.
Remember, Moore hit a couple of big threes early, unable to come away with this one. Front of the iron, caroms it off to Cam Miller, another of those seniors, another of those out of Franklin, Tennessee, which is just in the outskirts of Nashville. And it's been a very good, a hotbed of talent for this Lipscomb Bison's basketball team. Lost control, and Marbury takes it right back. First real opportunity we've had to see Garrison Matthews attacking the basket. He'll be fouled. It's going to be charged to Spahn, and that's the first whistle we've had. We had a lot of travel calls in the early part of this one, but that's the first foul on either side.
I'll get a chance now, and this is one of the other things that Lipscomb does exceptionally well. They're 71% overall, about 76% from the foul line. They have attempted and made more free throws than anybody in Division I. So you want to try to keep them off the line. So, first time they've been there in the 13-14 mark here first half.
And Matthews, a good look as the sophomore gets set to go to the line. And knocks it down, nothing but net. You talked about his record-breaking performance on the 19th of January. Doorstep of 40 against Jacksonville, erasing Jeff Dancy's mark of 38 that had stood since 2002. And 18 free throws in that game, Tom?
18 out of 21. You take it.
There's a couple right there
yeah.
to get him started in this basketball game, and it ties it up at 11 apiece. Spahn over to Cunningham. Boy, slapped away, and Premier able to get a hand in there, the Brandon, Florida native. And Holmes gets himself close. Buchanan's putback will be in conjunction with the foul call, and he'll go to the line for 3 points the old-fashioned way if he can knock it down. And Buchanan, who averages 14.3 per game in his own right, as well as right at 10 rebounds. And he uses both of those skills there, Tom, grabbing the offensive board and securing the putback.
Yeah, one of the top offensive rebounders in the conference and one of the top rebounders overall. And again, when we're kind of going through the keys of the game, that's another one, defensive rebound, I think, for Lipscomb to be able to keep Upstate off the offensive glass for any second chance points in this one.
So Upstate out to the 3-point lead on the strength of Buchanan's play inside. Pressure in the backcourt. Bison's able to break it. Trademark Upstate matchup zone as Eddie Payne likes to employ. This is just off the mark from down in the corner. Rebound to Tompkins. Buchanan cutting through, just off the mark. After really doing a nice job controlling his body to get that shot up. Saw it find the back of the iron. Right back to Buchanan. And Pepper going to be whistled for the foul. Buchanan used the fake to draw the Lipscomb defenders in.
Be able to move the basketball, swing it side to side to get a look at it. He walked him up the lane. Good entry pass. Used that pump fake. Tried to go on the backside there, and he'll get to the line.
Uses the front of the iron to roll that home. Couple of subs coming in for Lipscomb. Josh Williams returns, and he's joined by Nathan Moran, two of the starters back into the game. For joining us late, it was Marbury, Williams, Moran, Pepper, Matthews. The five placed on the floor by Casey Alexander, his associate head coach Roger Eidstrom, Steve Draben, Sean Rutigliano, all seated over on that Lipscomb bench, watching as the Bisons trail by 5 in the early going, trying to make it 2 over Upstate in the span of less than a week. This one a little more challenging in that it's a road game. And a turnover will take us to the break. High five to Buchanan from Eddie Payne. No surprise that as Buchanan comes in, the Spartans develop a bit of a lead at the 11:55 mark. The Upstate Spartans, winners of 8 out of their last 10, off to a 5-point advantage against Lipscomb just over 8 minutes into the contest. And Tom, that 10-game stretch, which has been so successful for the Spartans, marred only by losses to UNF and this Lipscomb team. And that game we've talked extensively about, which took place in Nashville midweek last week. But the highlight moment in that stretch, the win on the road at FGCU, 62-60. They took down the Eagles on the 19th. That is the only conference loss for FGCU on the year. So both these teams not just battling for that second spot, but both of them with visions, Tom, of making a run toward the top seed in the conference.
And that was a blew-out night against Florida Gulf Coast when Upstate went in and won that game.
Back-to-back threes, one on each end of the floor. Here's Moran answering the Spartans three by Tompkins just a moment ago, and we're right back where we were with a lead at 5.
Yeah, Moran, one of those guys, 1 of 3 with more than 58 threes. So, I mean, when you look at the stats there, 1 out of 3 beyond the arc, to me it's been a concentrated effort of throwing the ball inside, because this is a team that shoots 28 threes per game and make about 10, and one of the top not only in the ASUN but in the country as far as shooting the ball beyond the arc.
Now when you turn your attention inside, it's Whittington now who is manning the fort in the paint for Upstate, bodied up against Marbury, with Buchanan back out of there after perhaps being the spark that allowed Upstate to claim the lead. 20 on the shot clock, just under 11 minutes to go. First half action between a pair of 5 and 2 teams in conference play here inside the Hodge Center. Deion Holmes, close proximity to the basket, serves him well.
Tell you what, he muscled his way in there, didn't he, as he takes that ball to the hoop. He's another guy that can shoot beyond the arc. You have to respect that, and here's another turnover.
7 turnovers for Lipscomb, 4 of them for Upstate. Across the, well, before we cross the midway point of this first half, is going to another look at Holmes working his way through the sea of yellow. So Bison's had that pretty well covered. He just found this perfect window through which to weave his way to the bucket. And here's Whittington going to work for the first time offensively against Marbury, and Whittington getting a kind roll. Nothing Marbury can do there. At the 10-minute mark, the Spartans lead by 9.
Yeah, nicely done. It wasn't there to begin with. Threw it back out, repost, got it, used that left hand.
Wide open look for Matthews. And he can be deadly from beyond the arc, especially with that much real estate, Tom. Uncontested, give him 5 in the game.
Yeah, you've got to go find him. 33% is 58th on the year. And we talked about 39 against Jacksonville, 30 against Moorhead, so he can get hot.
A 9-point lead cut to 6, and Tompkins has it roll out on him. And that's off, they're saying, the foot of perhaps Marbury, and it's going to stay with the Spartans. Cunningham coming back in. Holmes working his way out. Here's another look at that 3 by Matthews, and you see just how much space he had to work with.
Yeah, if he can get his feet set, he'll knock it down. And he did there. You mentioned a moment ago the 7 turnovers. And the last time they played, it was 19-5 was the difference. Only 5 turnovers for Lipscomb, and it was 29-3 advantage Lipscomb in that category on that night.
Well, that's a game-changing statistic that made the difference with the Bisons at home. 9-18. And winding on down as this is taken away in the lane. Tompkins, the lone defender back. Those spawns there to help. And how well was that executed by Kenny Cooper? Cooper, who averages around 7, another of those from right there in Nashville, Tennessee, showing his athletic ability. And here's Matthews, gets the bucket and will go to the line. Matthews, so much control. As a sophomore, hard to believe that when you watch him play that the experience level is not there at even a higher mark as a junior and a senior with the type of control and anticipation he has. Watch Matthews here.
Get another look at it there. He kind of stepped by Cunningham, and then on the backside trying to catch up was Spawn, and another one of those outstanding free throw shooters. So there goes your 9-point lead down to 1.
In the blink of an eye. And 8 are now on the board individually for Matthews. Weddington. And this is going to be offensive, I believe, against Weddington. Take a look at this. So Weddington works his way in. Bucket went down, but they're going to say Matthews got there, and he was just outside that arc, which is the determining factor under the new rules package. It'll stay a 1-point lead, and Lipscomb has the basketball. So we talked about Matthews just a minute ago. Tom mentioned that he plays much more like an upperclassman than a sophomore sensation. There's another evidence of that on the defensive end, getting to the right spot on the floor. And here's a whistle underneath as Cooper goes to the deck.
Showed ball fake. Got to defend that on the perimeter. Took it to the basket, and Whittington picks up his 2nd personal foul, and he had 13 points, 12 rebounds. First time these teams met last Wednesday.
And he's picked them up back-to-back.
Yep.
One offensive on the other end of the floor. Now this one, which allows Cooper to knock down the first free throw, which ties the game. 4th team foul for Upstate. There are 3 of them having been charged to the Bisons so far. 8.5 left. And our game tied for a 2nd time. Cooper hits them both. 4th lead change. Lipscomb back out front, 24-23. 4 on the evening for Cooper. Remember, he had that solid drive of the lane earlier, and then the 2 free throws there. Buchanan back in there. Manning up against Bramier down low. And a whistle as it'll go back to the Bisons. This foul going to be called on Buchanan. That's a 1st personal and a 5th team foul for Upstate.
Yeah, good job by Lipscomb to reel it back in. Was down by as many as 9 here in the first half, and now regaining the lead. The one thing that Lipscomb can do is score 86 points per game in league play.
But calling for the basketball was Moran. Player of the week just a few weeks ago, back at the start of the new year. 3 on the shot clock. And Bramier inside. able to lay it home, 26-23. First bucket for number 55, and here's a mad scramble for it. Miller able to get it to Cooper, but he steps out of bounds. It'll be an Upstate ball with 7.5 to play. 26-23 Bisons. A frantic pace between these two familiar foes facing off here in Spartanburg tonight. On the strength of a 9 of 13 from the floor start to the basketball game, at 69% for Lipscomb. They lead it by 3, 26-23 here in the Hodge Center. Pretty impressive beginning from a shooting standpoint, Tom. Also 5 of 5 from the free throw line in this game. Lipscomb pushing ahead here in the last several moments. And with 7:30 left to go first half, in command of the game.
Yeah, down by 9 at one point, able to hit a couple from the perimeter and turn over Upstate a little bit, and then effectively shooting the basketball. One thing that they do know is that they have an ability to come back against this Upstate team. They did it last Wednesday. And, you know, one thing about the Spartans, they've had a really solid season this year. There are occasional lapses.
Cunningham has been somewhat of a cure for what has ailed Upstate with those lapses in the last several games. He is really coming to life.
Yeah, I tell you what, he has played well. You go back to that Jacksonville game and only scored 7, but he had 5 free throws late, which turned out to be a big one, and then he's been very effective here most recently.
Spahn finds a window, but can't lay it home. Bison stay out front. Go back down low, looking for Marbury again. And Matthews out top, working together with Cooper. From the corner, Matthews just off the mark. That's going to go the other end of the floor. Whistle and a foul underneath that's going to be called on Josh Williams. That's his first personal. He's picked up a foul. Miller's picked up a foul among the two that are on the floor. That's a 4th team foul against the Bisons. 5 charged to Upstate. Cuthbertson, Cunningham, Moore, Tompkins, and Buchanan in the game for Upstate. Quick look inside to Buchanan. We mentioned how much better Buchanan has controlled the body the last couple of seasons. That's an evidence of it right there.
Well, the other part about that, Jason, is you're exactly right. But, boy, what hands. That was a bullet pass. He caught it, straight up laid it in.
Able to get his hands in there.
Lay it out, yep.
Once again, Buchanan giving a full effort here at the 6-minute mark. And Upstate, in an attempt to reclaim the lead, will instead see Cunningham pick up the foul. Just another look at that quick pass from Cunningham and Buchanan's finish off the glass.
Yeah, good hands there when he fired it. That was right in front of us, and he was anticipating that, threaded the needle, mobbled a bit, controlled, laid it in. He's been a factor in this one with 9 points.
All right, Tom, we've talked about these two teams playing twice in 6 days between the two of them, but this is a 3rd game for these teams in that 6-day stretch. Both of them with a contest sandwiched in between over the weekends at their respective schools, and you wonder how long the legs can hold out, especially with the frantic pace we've seen earlier. That's a lot of basketball in a short period of time for these two teams.
Yeah, and Upstate played at home, whereas Lipscomb was way up in Newark, New Jersey, and that's a journey up that way, even though you go by plane and just drop down here and play before you go on back to Nashville.
But 3 games in less than a week with this Monday night contest between the two of them. You wonder if fatigue becomes an issue at any point in this contest before the night is done. So far, so good for these two teams running up and down the floor. Two teams that can certainly put some points up on the board and have in this first half. Matthews wide open again, and he never seems to miss when he has that kind of open space.
Well, the operative words there were wide open and get set, knocks it down. I mean, 6'5", sophomore. Tough if you close out. He's got that ability to jump up and shoot it over you.
We talked about the NCAA era single game scoring record he set against Jacksonville. He was an A-Sun Player of the Week back in the month of December. Comes into this contest fourth in the conference in scoring, and easy to see why he was a member of the all-freshman team a year ago.
Yeah, averaged 15.9 in conference play a year ago. And, you know, you were talking about he's from Franklin, Tennessee, and 7 of the players on this Lipscomb team are from that Nashville area.
Great pool of very athletic basketball players to pull from. And Casey Alexander has done a nice job pulling from that area. And Marbury has it rejected by Tompkins on the other end. Bison stretching their lead out to 6. That's their largest lead in the game. And it's cut in half. One stroke from Tompkins. The junior out of the Peach State, pulling the Spartans within 3. That's a couple of threes for Tompkins. He has 6 in the contest. Critical final 4 moments of this first half. Boy, great job working to the basket by Marbury. And another of those Nashville natives. Transfer from Western Kentucky, but originally from right there in the home base of the Bisons.
I like it, though, went right at Whittington, who's got 2 personal fouls. Now, Whittington did a nice job not to foul.
Running into his own man was Pepper, but coming away with the rebound to sophomore out of Kentucky. Princeton, to be specific. Here's Buckland. Feeding it in. There's Marbury. Doesn't mind to shoot from distance either, and his impact has given the Bisons a 7-point lead.
How about that versatility? Steps out, faces. We've seen him with his back to the basket and his ability to finesse it around the rim and get it in, but he had a little jumper there.
Cuthbertson. Holmes was calling for the ball down the lane, but Cuthbertson did not see a large enough window. Holmes will go down the right side himself, uses the glass. Holmes with his second field goal of the game.
Yeah, the sophomore out of Chesney at 8, the first time these teams met. That's a tough one for Holmes as he takes it up strong and able to score at the other end.
We talk about hometown-type products. Chesney High School, just a couple of exits up here on I-85, one that Upstate has kept close to home in their own right. Here's the work of Rob Marbury. It's led to a 37-32 Bison's lead. ASUN Men's Basketball Championship not that far away. The end of the upcoming month of February will see campus sites invaded by championship basketball. You can log on to asunsports.org for updates. Follow along, join the conversation on Twitter at ASUNMBB using the hashtag ASUNMadness. Halfway through the conference season now, seeding up for grabs in games just like this one, which Lipscomb leads 37-32 over the Spartans here at USC Upstate. And this last touched by Lipscomb. It'll be Upstate basketball.
That's the first time that Matthews has taken kind of a tough fadeaway shot. I mean, hashtag great shooting for Lipscomb at 14 out of 20. And I think most of us can do that, Matt. That's pretty good.
70% for the Bisons to begin things. Upstate conversely shooting 46.2, which is not that bad unless you stack it up against 70%. And the difference obvious on the scoreboard. This taken away. Korn to slow things up just a bit. Aaron Korn, junior out of Indiana, now into the game for Lipscomb. Upstate going out of this timeout. Whittington, Tompkins, Cunningham, Holmes, and Cuthbertson. Loaded with guards in this set alongside Whittington. And there's Cunningham. Just over 90 seconds to play first half. Holmes loses it. Matthews out front. And the foul going to be called, I believe, on Tompkins on the far side. That is the case, and a first personal on Tompkins. 17th foul for Upstate. So Matthews back to the line where so far in this game he is 3 of 3. You can see up in the right hand corner of your screen what's going on elsewhere around the conference. NJIT out to an early lead JU up 5 against Stetson. First half action in Fort Myers and 1 point. The separation between the Ospreys and the Eagles.
Yeah, it's a big ball game going on. We talked about both these teams are 5-2, and for Florida Gulf Coast, they're 6-1. Of course, Upstate did win at FGCU 62-60, and it's tough to win there.
And the Spartans' only other loss besides this Lipscomb team was to that UNF team.
Yep.
We'll keep an eye on the Battle of the Birds.
And that was Dallas Moore, who turned a 9-point lead for Upstate in 58 seconds into a tie ball game.
Who doesn't know his name around the conference over the years? And really around the country beyond just his impact on ASUN play. Cunningham drains a 3, makes it a 4-point game, and for Cunningham, he has quickly compiled 8 points in this first half. And Matthews left open again, follows his shot all the way through, but the rebound belongs to Tompkins. Matthews almost got there to retrieve it himself. Holmes for 3. Back-to-back 3-point baskets for Upstate. 7 threes in the game for the Spartans. And we're going to get a foul called on Malik Moore. I think after the basket. Let's see if this is.
I think it's on Cam Miller.
Is that right? Okay. Moore showing signs of. Well, now he turns, and there's the high five. There's a hand slap. You're right, Tom. 39-38 is the lead after the back-to-back threes. And Moore is going to go to the line.
Foul charge to Lipscomb's number 4, Cam Miller.
So obviously away from the ball. Go ahead and look at it.
And the officials coming over, they want to take a look at the 3 just to see if, in fact, he was behind the 3-point line. And this will take place before Moore shoots the free throw. 39-38 is the Bison's lead. And going back to that 3-point stat so far in this contest, if this one stands as a 3, 7 of them in the game for Upstate to just 4 for Lipscomb out of the 14 that have been shot. So the Spartans may be shooting less than 50% overall, but they're shooting 50% from beyond the arc. And you'll get another look at this 3-pointer by Holmes before Moore, who was fouled afterward, gets set to go to the line. They did go over, explain to Casey Alexander what had been taking place, or what had taken place there to send Moore to the line. But right now, the conversation is about the 3-point basket, and this is the only good look that they have at it to see if, in fact, it is a 3, and they've frozen the frame for you so you can see where Holmes' foot was. It will stay a 3-point basket, so 39-38 is our score. Officials coming over, checking on things, and we should say kudos to Anthony Jordan, our referee, A.J. Desai, Alfred Smith, the trio of gentlemen in stripes here today. And they took a couple of good looks, Tom. They say it will stay as a 3, and now Moore goes to the line. Under a minute to play, and the Spartans can reclaim the lead back down the stretch in this first half, as Moore will have 2 shots here.
Yeah, you got a chance for what could be a 5-point swing here.
And the first one goes down. 1 remaining for Moore. That ties it. Our game tied for the 3rd time. 7 points for Moore. Can he put Upstate ahead with what will be a 5th lead change in the contest? A little too strong. And who's there to retrieve the basketball but Matthews? So tied up with 47 seconds to play first half. Spartans have led by as many as 9. Bisons have led by as many as 7. Mad scramble for it. Cunningham will end up working it to Tompkins and then back his way, and that was all initiated by big Michael Buchanan inside.
Yeah, outstanding defensive play there to block it, then get on the floor, and about a 5-second differential on the clock in the play clock.
Yeah, so 12 to shoot for the Spartans. Cunningham begins with 8 on the shot clock down the lane, and a foul going to be called on Buchanan. That's his 2nd. Picks one up here in the last 11 seconds of the first half.
Yeah, Cunningham trying to make something happen there, and then Mike Buchanan going to the offensive glass will pick that up. So with the clock stop, back to the foul line.
It's an 8th team foul for Upstate. So it's a 1-and-1 for Miller. The senior out of Franklin knocks the first down. Miller, who so solid with the basketball, 5th in the conference in assist to turnover ratio. A year ago, 4th in field goal percentage in league games last season. Just a solid piece of the puzzle for Casey Alexander. And when he needs them, he knocks them both down. Lipscomb perfect from the free throw line. 7 of 7 from the charity stripe in this contest. 5 seconds as Holmes fires away. And this will be a half-court heave. That'll be just to the right off the fingertips of Buckland. And the Bisons will carry a 1-bucket lead into the intermission here in Spartanburg. A-Sun teams playing very solid basketball when it counts. Getting ready to go back to work. 20 fresh minutes up on the game clock, and one basket between them. 41-39 is the Lipscomb lead, as you see them right in front of our table, getting ready to go. And Mr. Matthews, who is the game's leading scorer, will inbound the basketball to get us rolling.
I was going to ask him while he was standing there what he thought, you know.
What Coach had to say during the break? What were the words of Coach Alexander? We'll have to speculate because we weren't in that locker room. But, Tom, if we were, what do you think we might have heard from Lipscomb?
Well, Coach Alexander just, keep doing what you're doing offensively. Shoot that ball and, get some stops on the defensive end of the floor and then take care of it. Maybe try to get to the foul line a little bit more. But they looked to me like they decided again on their very first possession to go back inside successfully to Marbury.
Did so. They will hold Upstate and now go back to work. Here's a three. Goes down from the corner. Josh Williams, and the lead suddenly grows to 7 with a couple of quick make buckets in the second half.
Yeah, I also thought try to get Williams involved. We talked about him having scored about 1,400 points in his career, averaging 13-9, and had just the 1-3 in the first half, and went inside, have to defend that, kicked it back outside, hit that 3.
Williams, preseason All-A-Sun. As we said, a name that has circulated around the conference over the years. Lou Henson Award watch list, preseason All-American. 28 20-plus point contests in his career. So Josh Williams is a guy, as Tom is telling you, that when he comes to life, it can certainly change a basketball game in major ways. We talked Lipscomb adjustments. They've gone inside early. That rolls off the side of the rim, and Upstate will have it on cue. Tell us, Tom, what about the Spartans? What did Eddie Payne have to say to his troops? If you had to guess, what are the Spartans trying to focus on in the second half?
I just think, take care of the basketball, turn it over 10 times first half, and, also get some stops defensively. Probably a little bit disappointed shooting by 54%. At one point, it was 14 out of 20 in the first half.
Matthews just a little too strong. And we get a stoppage as a whistle underneath. The foul called. Subs coming in. Cam Miller and Michael Buchanan coming back. That's on Whittington. That's the foul call, and that's 3 for Whittington now. So he'll depart, and Buchanan quick up off that bench to replace him.
Yeah, Whittington 13-12, and the last time they played and had a really good, start defensively there to start the second half. Got a block. He's one of the top shot blockers in the A-Sun, but Mike Buchanan comes in. He's a big guy, knows what he's doing. Veteran player, scored 9 in the first half. See if he can get going inside.
He, alongside of Moore, Upstate's leading scorers with 9 apiece. Cunningham has 8, so those 3 all on the verge of double digits. Cunningham gets a hand in there, but it is a kind roll for Eli Pepper, whose shot pays off. The sophomore at a Caldwell County High School in Princeton, Kentucky, with 4 points in the game. Lead up to 7. Buchanan with a fake toward the bench side for Upstate and keeps fighting until he finally lays one home. Buchanan, the first Upstate player in double digits in the game. Give him 11.
Yeah, nice effort there. An offensive rebound and didn't get it to go. Stuck with it, powered it in.
Williams down the midst of the lane. He runs into Buchanan, and that's going to be a offensive foul. Buchanan stands in, draws the charge. And 5 points the advantage for Lipscomb. Upstate with the ball. Watch Buchanan stand in and draw the charge.
You know, Buchanan's a guy, Jason, that will do that and get the charge call. And sometimes it's difficult for a big guy to get that particular call. And, you know, you got to plow pretty hard into someone that's about 265 that knocked him down. But that's the third on Williams, too, I believe. And that's a big one for them as he has to go out, and then Matthews will check back in.
And then you saw a little bit of conversation between the officials and a couple of the players. Buchanan got up off the deck, said that the ball was thrown his direction, and they just calmed everything down. It's one of the things you get when you have two teams playing one another in such a short period of time, especially with the way things went for Upstate on the road in Nashville, and just the fact that you got the same 5 bodies on each side battling it out for the same piece of real estate this close to one another. It can get a little chirpy, a little testy sometimes. That's the nature of the competition, but the officials right on top of things. 48-45 the score after Moore gets himself in double digits. Moore has 11 now. Rebound to Buchanan. Michael Buchanan in that first half, along with those 9 points, pulled down just a couple of boards, both of them offensive. Tompkins wide open in the corner, rattles down another 3. Spartans have made 8 of those in the game, and it's 48 all with 16 and change to play.
Did we say this is a game of runs? 7 consecutive to get it tied.
Good work inside the paint from Marbury. Remember, Marbury scored 10 in the first half. That's his first bucket of the second half of action.
Big collision over there.
Major collision over on the far side. Like the Upstate trainer. Sandy Sandego was right in the midst of that. Looks like Sandy's okay.
Looked like he took a charge, right?
Yeah, good sign. Looked like Buchanan on the other end a moment ago.
He was in position there, you know, outside the arc.
Best news of all, Sandy, good friend of ours, obviously. Okay over there on the far side. Tried the back door, and Buchanan anticipated it.
Beautifully done by the big guy. May not want to do that, yeah. In transition, throw it back out to a trailing 7-foot center. Turned into a turnover.
50-48. Well, all that action, and we're right back where we started this second half. 2-point Bison's lead. Well, just halfway through his sophomore season, Garrison Matthews becoming a well-known name around the A-Sun because of shots like this time.
Yeah, gets wide open look. He'll knock it down from 3-point range. Had 57 threes coming in and had a pair of them here in this game. And a young man that's only a sophomore, the A-Sun freshman team a year ago. And
averaging right at 20, has 13 in the contest. Now Marbury, with his work early in the second half, is now the leading scorer in the game. Marbury has 14. But only for an instant as Matthews flies in there, shows his hustle, and he has 15 to lead the way. That's the thing Matthews gives you that maybe doesn't get as much attention. That is that hustle. That's the second or third time we've seen him follow a shot with force. And Cunningham answers on the other end.
Yeah, good job by Mike Cunningham. We were talking about how he has played here recently offensively and gives a boost to the team.
It's another 3. Upstate with 9 of them, and Cunningham has 11. Spartans within 1 at 52-51. They work to Buchanan, looking for the lead. He'll get the bucket and go to the line. Spartans up 53-52 as they use the 3-point shot, the 9th of the day, and then go back inside, showing the versatility of this squad as Buchanan scores.
Yeah, we talk so much about the ability of Lipscomb to shoot the 3 ball, but when the outside shot going by Cunningham, that opens it up. You toss it down deep, and again, where he's catching the ball, the entry pass is there, and it's so deep. And the patience that he shows as a senior to go up, play through contact, get a chance for 3-point play.
You look at how physical Rob Marbury has played in this game. That's just his first personal foul. It also speaks to how well he's played. Marbury with his first personal. That's the second team foul on the Bisons in this second period of action. Buchanan unable to knock down the and one opportunity. Spartans 4 of 6 from the charity stripe in the game. Still a perfect 9 of 9 on the Lipscomb side of things from the free throw line, if you keep an eye on that headed down the stretch here in a bit.
Yeah, Williams already back into the game. Now, there are a number of different players on both teams that can score. We talked about in conference play, both teams have 4 players that score in double figures, so they're not relying on just one person to maybe get you 30 or so as you see the battle underneath. And I tell you, Lipscomb's done a nice job on the offensive glass here in the second half early on.
From the corner, Williams starting to heat up. Williams has 9, and the Bisons are back out front by a couple.
Yeah, he's got 3 threes, and now he has 60 on the year. We talked about 3 players with 57 or more beyond the arc.
The Jackson, Mississippi native. Played at Jackson Prep before coming to Lipscomb, and it has been years now we have watched in amazement and with respect as Josh Williams has invaded gymnasium after gymnasium around the A-Sun with his stellar play. Here's Marbury. Buchanan fighting hard inside, but Marbury follows his own shot and stretches the lead out to 2 possessions. Battle by Marbury. He's the leading scorer in the game with 16.
I think they wanted to get a double dribble at the other end. You can make the call. Good work for our crew today. There's the bump. Pick it up. Put it down again. They missed that one.
Fans in the Hodge Center reacting immediately to that. And credit Marbury. Kept on playing, hung with it, got his rebound, put it back up, and has given the Bisons a 57-53 lead. Inbound deep near the timeline to Buchanan. A good crowd in here tonight on a Monday night. A lot of life in this building. Everybody in the Upstate understanding just how important this game is to the conference positioning and the hopes of hosting deep into the A-Sun Championships, which are just over a month away. Garrison Matthews keeps trading that top spot back and forth with Marbury, and got a feeling Casey Alexander won't mind if they keep going back and forth as scorers the rest of the night.
Hey, Matthews
takes it away. Matthews one-on-one with Holmes. Shot doesn't quite go down, but he draws the foul and will go to the line. You were about to say something about the talented sophomore.
Well, we've seen so many good players that can shoot that ball from deep, so even on a break you have to be aware of that. And then on the other end of the floor, not only is he an offensive player, but does a nice job with the passing lane and then powers up and get a chance to go to the foul line. I mean, good news is he didn't make the basket. Bad news is that he's about automatic at the foul line.
Eddie Payne working the officials over on the far side just across from us. You saw him standing out there on your screen a moment ago, hands on hips. Now he's in a conversation with Anthony Jordan. And it was a fairly extended conversation, almost through the entire 2 shots for Matthews, which go down for a 60-53 lead in the Bisons. Quietly stretched it back out to 7. 19 points for Matthews now. That matches his average on the year.
Yeah, there's that quick 8-0 run. Upstate had taken a 53-52 lead on Buchanan's shot.
It was after the big 3 that pulled them within 1 prior to that. Here's Cunningham. He looks for an outside shot. Buchanan grabs it, puts it right back, one-handed with the right hand.
Okay, that's some versatility, able to contort the body and use the glass with the right hand to spin it in.
15 for Buchanan. Now closing in on that game-high mark that right now belongs to Matthews. Cooper's shot off. Holmes down the baseline. Gets his own rebound, and he'll be fouled by Michael Buckland, the freshman out of High Point, North Carolina. Back in the Carolinas. In fact, he's joined only by Brett Wishon, the senior out of Concord, North Carolina, as the 2 from either North or South Carolina on this Lipscomb roster.
Good job by Holmes there. Takes it strong and stuck with it. Gets a chance to go to the foul line and converts there.
Cuthbertson comes back, With him, Rob Marbury.
Number 10, Josh Cuthbertson.
And Eddie Payne still working the officials. This time he has the ear of another member of that crew right in front of his bench. He's making sure that all three of them at different times understand exactly what his perspective is right now.
What a career he's had.
Coached at every level
here at Upstate. 32 total.
Assistant coaching stops here in the Palmetto State at Clemson and South Carolina both. There's an accomplishment in its own right.
Yep.
And then East Carolina, Oregon State, back here and having spent an extended period of time on the bench for that gold and black, wearing those white home uniforms. His Upstate Spartans are down 4. Just under 12 to play. What Eddie Payne has done with this team, really rebuilding this with a young group of players, a number of different pieces, pushing the right buttons, finding the right combinations. Matthews for 3, drains it, and just kind of takes a slow stroll back down the floor. We'll see if that was noticed.
He knew it when he let it go.
22 on the board for Matthews, an outstanding player. Something to watch for sure. Cuthbertson through the lane. And he will pick up the bucket and go to the line. And that will bring them to life here in the Hodge Center. Getting intense between a couple of teams that played recently. And fans who know just what's at stake with every drain of the bucket. Josh Cuthbertson with his first basket of the game. And watch the crossover, Tom, as Cuthbertson goes down the lane to get involved.
Yeah, talking a little bit on the break there about trying to get him involved offensively, averaging 9 points, 4 rebounds per game, and he's had some big games as well. 64-59 at 11:06, and down by 7, led by 1, down by 7, within 5 now, a chance to bring it within a 4-point margin, and we still have 11:06 to go in this game.
Well, it's been a fun one. Talk about big games for Cuthbertson. Who can forget the 22 he scored against Presbyterian College? Actually accomplished that feat again against Allen right here in this building. That's his career high, 22. He has 3 after knocking down the and 1 chance. These two teams separated by just 4 where it counts.
And he's on Matthews. Just switched off now.
Matthews with an open look from three-point land, just a little short. Spahn pushing. Upstate didn't have numbers, so they back it out, and Cuthbertson drains a 3. All 6 of his points coming in the last couple of moments, and the lead just 1 for the Bisons. Spartans at last check were shooting 47%. Marbury and company up over 50% at 55. Close proximity on shots like that will raise that total, and his total is now at 18.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Marbury's a nice player. 6'7" sophomore from Nashville. He transferred in from Western Kentucky.
Easy to see why he earned Newcomer of the Week honors first week of December. And second in the ASUN in field goal percentage, 63%. That'll happen when you're that close to the bucket.
Yeah, and we also saw where he could step out and face up and hit a little 10-footer, so you have to be aware of that as well.
What about the job he did against Belmont, Tom?
Yep.
11 of 11 NCAA record for the Bisons of makes without a miss. Ran the record to 15 before missing.
They lost 2 really tough games to Belmont this year by 2 points, 1 in overtime.
Here's Marbury again, just as we're talking about him. And the 3rd personal foul is going to be charged to Michael Buchanan on that contact with Marbury.
Came down, got him on the arm there, and he pushed him out a little bit. We've seen Marbury able to get that ball deep and power up and be able to score with a nice touch around the rim, but moved him up the lane and out a little bit. It was going to be a tough shot for him to make, and he'll go to the foul line now to have a chance to shoot 2. He's a good free throw shooter as well.
What a basketball game unfolding between the purple and gold and the green and white here inside the Hodge Center in Spartanburg. Thanks for spending a part of your Monday night with us. Philip Whittington replaces Buchanan after Buchanan picked up that 3rd personal foul. Fourth team foul for the Spartans, 5 of them for the Bisons, as we've just crossed over the midway point of this second half. Roll for Marbury. 20 points for Marbury. He has 20, Matthews has 22. That's 42 of the Bison's 68 in this game.
And they've hit all 13 free throws. We talked about how that we thought would be a major factor in the game. 24 out of 28 the first time these two teams met. They're 76% for the line in conference play, and perfect here tonight.
How about the amount of time that Marbury has been in there too? Eating up space in that lane along with Eli Pepper. We saw Brammeyer earlier work his way in for several moments here and there, but he's been a space eater and a point scorer. Talking, of course, about Marbury. FGCU pulling away just a little bit in the Battle of the Birds, bottom of that scoring update on the right side of your screen. JU leading Stetson, and as you can see, NJIT with a 5-point advantage at home against K-State. Tough place to play in the land of the Highlanders.
Yeah, it is up there.
They make it a difficult on all opponents a home floor. And in this league, you really can say that all the way around, Tom. Small arena here at Upstate, but the fans are right on top of you, very vocal. Obviously, going into the Music City, always a challenge, as Upstate found out even with that 20-plus point lead less than a week ago. It is difficult on the road in this sport, in this conference. Try to hold serve at home and still 1 or 2 away on the road if you can.
Well, that's why that win by Upstate at Florida Gulf Coast, 62-60, was a big one.
Yes. And this would be for Lipscomb if they could sweep the series against the team they're right now even in the standings with and pick up an all-important road win here in Spartanburg. Matthews slicing down the lane. The feed was perfect. The anticipation of the opportunity by Matthews executed just as well. The foul's going to go on Cunningham, and it's his first. But look at the feed inside from Eli Pepper. And he and Matthews working together very nicely on this trip down the floor. That's going to grow the lead, Tom, to 71-63 as Matthews refuses to miss from the charity stripe.
Now, this is a team that can score in bunches. We were talking about the win over NJIT last time out, 66-62, their first win, less than scoring 80 points in a ball game.
Whittington trying to work close to the bucket. Shot off. Big rebound by Pepper, showing his length.
Yeah, he had 25 in a game against Fisk earlier this year.
Marbury, 22 to his credit. And the lead out to 10. This is the first time either team has enjoyed a double-digit lead in the game.
Yeah, Upstate led by 9 early in the game.
Cunningham gets the bucket and will go to the line. And just as quickly as the lead grows to 10 for Lipscomb, Cunningham has a chance to cut it right back to 7.
Acrobatic shot there by Mike Cunningham. Upstate had led by 9 first half, trailed by as many as 7. 2-point game at half. Out of the gate quickly was Lipscomb, and now Mike Cunningham shows his strength and power, the sophomore to Washington, D.C. So every time Lipscomb seems to pull away a bit, Spartans seem to have an answer. We'll see as we get near the 8-minute mark here.
Major off-balance effort by Cunningham. Now Marbury, for the 5th time this season and in his career, going up over 20 points in a contest. And a feed to Marbury. He may have visions on 30, Tom. That's 24 as he makes another close basket for Lipscomb.
Yeah, Whittington came over and got a great block, but by leaving the Marbury, it left him with the offensive rebound and the follow.
It's going to be against Upstate Lipscomb basketball when we return. Bisons have opened up a lead of as many as 10, now sits at 9, and they'll have the basketball when we return after the media timeout. Well, the hometown product serving Lipscomb very well. Maybe none bigger tonight. Matthews obviously doing what he normally does. Maybe none bigger from an inside standpoint than the work of Marbury. You see him active here, Tom. He has 24 points in the game.
Well, when you can shoot the ball from the outside like Lipscomb does, and then you can have the contribution you get from Marbury inside, and you ran through his numbers there just a moment ago, and shoot 63% from the floor. But I'll tell you, he's athletic around there, a skilled low post player, and then has hit a couple of kind of mid-range jump shots, which you have to respect as well.
Think about this. One more basket from either Matthews or Marbury, they're responsible for more than 50 points between the two of them on the night. They're sitting at 49, 25 for Matthews, 24 for Marbury.
And this is a team that gets double digits, 10-plus out of 4 players in conference play, so tonight it's been their night so far anyway.
And they may still get there. You've got Williams sitting there with 9, and the likes of Miller and Cooper are at 6 and 4 points respectively, still with a possibility. And there's Tompkins. He's in double digits. 11 for Tompkins. There are 4 Spartans on the floor who've scored in double figures. Tompkins, Moore, Buchanan, and Cunningham. Yet the Spartans trail by 7.
It's been kind of a tough shooting night for Moore, and he's a young man that has 50-plus threes and had 22 on the road earlier this year. This Lipscomb team won at the University of Missouri. It's not having that great year, but nonetheless a great win as we get back to action here.
Cunningham with 16 in the contest. It's now 75-70. We may be destined for triple digits between these two teams before we're finished. Matthews fires away from three-point land. And Cuthbertson the rebound.
Yeah, you get a couple of stops, score at this end, you're back in it.
Matthews there to corral it. Cunningham pulling out on Matthews. Under 6. Remember, both these teams playing 3 games in 6 days. 2 of those games against one another head-to-head. For those of you who may just be joining us, they played in Nashville less than a week ago, and the final Lipscomb 84, Upstate 77.
In the game for the Spartans, number 3,
The travels for Lipscomb since that time. To NJIT, as you documented earlier, Tom, and now here to Spartanburg.
Yeah, they let a 14-point lead get away, and then down the stretch, they had 9 out of 10 free throws.
A perfect 14 of 14 from the line for Lipscomb in this game. Still 20 to shoot. Matthews will. High off the glass.
Well, you want to add the floater to his repertoire? It's pretty good.
That completes what we were talking about earlier. His 27 means that the combo of Matthews and Marbury responsible for more than 50 of the Bison's 77 points. Remarkable. Moore, a little short off the front of the iron. We've got 4 ties, 6 lead changes, and that is an exclamation point for the moment for the Bisons, who now lead by 9. They've led by as many as 10. That's the largest lead by either side. And a foul inside.
Yeah, unchecked down the lane, and Pepper.
Only his second basket, but it is one that will be remembered by that Lipscomb bench.
That's a big one. Get a look at it in. Bourne has struggled shooting the basketball, but high above with the right hand. 6'9" sophomore. He was a young man that was on that All-ASUN freshman team a year ago. You go back a couple of years, and Williams was as well. So some really talented players. I mean, there's a rebound taken above the rim by Pepper off the missed free throw.
And that's a 5th missed free throw for Upstate in this game against the Lipscomb team that has shot 14 of them and been perfect on each one.
Okay, Pepper and Marbury are pretty tough inside.
This is where the Spartans would like to cut into this thing. Yeah, it's remarkable, just the one foul on Marbury. He's played so well inside, bodying up on everyone, yet not fouling. Marbury there, you saw just how physical he was being inside. And playing a very intense brand of basketball without making mistakes, Tom.
Well, think about this. Marbury, Pepper, Matthews, what do they have in common? They're all sophomores.
They're going to be around for a while. It's the best news Casey Alexander's heard all night. 79-70. The Bison's lead. If Moran is able to knock down a couple right here and keep the Bisons perfect from the free throw line, they would enjoy their largest lead of the night. He's halfway there. 10-point advantage. That is the high water mark. I remember it was 84 that Lipscomb scored in the previous meeting between these two. They're on the verge of that now with 4.5 to play. Moran hits them both. 16 of 16 from the free throw line for Lipscomb, and this is the largest lead of the night for the Bisons. Eddie Payne knows it. He's going to call for a timeout. We will take it as well. Under 5 to play in the Hodge Center in Spartanburg. Battle of teams equal when it comes to their conference record. They were separated by 2 at the half, but Lipscomb now opening up an 11-point advantage. Well, these teams pretty even in turnovers. 15 for Upstate, 13 for Lipscomb. Points off turnovers, 18 apiece. Second chance points, Lipscomb 18, Upstate 15. Fast break points, 6 apiece. But 10 is the separation in the paint, Tom. Lipscomb outscoring Upstate 38-28 inside. And that almost identically correlates with the scoreboard.
Well, and Rob Marbury, a big factor for that. He's got 24 points. Now, Pepper's got a couple here in the second half, and one was that follow slam.
Matthews leads the way with 27. Those two responsible for the bulk of Lipscomb's offense in this game, though Josh Williams has been big at times in the second half, has 9. Crew not on the floor right now. That group all getting some rest here at the 4:03 mark. Buchanan tries to fire it back up, but the foul is called on the floor. Upstate with 4 in double digits. Cunningham has 16, Buchanan with 15, Tompkins and Moore with 11 apiece, as you see the foul called inside. And Marbury comes right back with the foul called on Bremeyer. So it wasn't a very long rest for Mr. Marbury after Bremeyer picked up the personal. It's a 19 foul against the Bison, so everything else will leave Upstate shooting 2 at the line. Free throws, another differential between these teams. We've talked about it a number of times, but for those of you just joining us, Upstate now 9 of 14 from the charity stripe. Lipscomb a perfect 16 of 16 from the line. Here's Buchanan, misses the second. And there's Marbury with the rebound. His 7th rebound as he inches closer to a double-double alongside that powerful 24-point performance. Under 4 on the clock, beginning to get late on the Spartans. They try to avoid being swept in a span of less than a week by the Lipscomb Bisons. Mad dash for it, and conversations continue about whose basketball it's going to be when you return to Spartanburg. We'll let you know. 3:41 to play. Bisons by 10. As if Upstate may have caught a break here, and Casey Alexander saw it as it was right in front of him. This appears to go off of Cunningham last. Watch the great camera work here. Just off Cunningham's left foot as he works his way out of bounds, and you see Casey Alexander's immediate reaction. That's not reviewable at this point in the game, and as a result, Upstate, as I mentioned, catches a break and will have the ball.
Yeah, really good work. We've had some real close calls in this one, and we've gotten great video looks at it tonight.
10-point lead with 3.5 to play for Lipscomb. They've trailed by as many as 9. They've led by as many as 11.
But down the stretch you go, so each one of these possessions becomes precious.
Cunningham off with the 3, and that is saved very nicely by Eli Pepper. Pepper's had a couple of key moments in this game. That slam back a moment ago, 2 of his 4 points in the game, and this save on the defensive end of the floor.
Well, I wondered how Lipscomb would play it out here because they've got that lead. They're a team that likes to get up and down the floor, but very smart basketball, run that clock.
Shot clock down to 7. Feed is to Matthews. And a rare miss for Marbury, who has 24 on the night. It's going to end up into the grasp of Miller. Numbers for Lipscomb. And Marbury makes it 26 as the lead grows to 12. That's its largest mark of the night for Lipscomb, or for either team for that matter. Comes with 2.5 to play. Buchanan fouled. It's going to be a second personal on Marbury.
Well, Jason, at the other end, Pepper could have taken that ball up, and he will give it up and end up with,
here's that moment that he had
Pepper
earlier offensively.
And then he distributed the basketball the last time down the floor, so very unselfish. Well, this is a team that leads the league in assists per game at 17.1, so we talk about a lot of numbers, and, you know, sometimes you can give you too many numbers, but those are, I think, reflective and indicative of the success that they've had so far this year. Their best start, as you mentioned at the outset, since 2009 in ASUN play. And
the best under Casey Alexander. You look at what's ahead for this team. You mentioned the work that they did up at NJIT. They return to Allen Arena, take on NJIT, and then have that showdown on February 9th in Fort Myers with FGCU, which would be the lone team in front of them if they find a way to salt this one away here tonight. And lost at home 84-80. That's one loss, and the other loss was 90-84 on the road in North Florida. North Florida team that came in here and had that late run in the second half to beat Upstate. Here's Matthews from distance. Under 2 to play. Upstate down 11 and fighting the clock as much as the Bisons right now. Tompkins reigns in a 3. For Upstate, that is an 11th three-point basket on the night. The lead 8. With 95 seconds to go. Sorry, Tom. Solid finish against Kennesaw State. Let's see what they can do here in this one. 15 to shoot for Lipscomb. Precious seconds ticking off the clock as fans here in the Hodge Center watch. Lipscomb on the verge. Another big win against the Spartans. What a feed! Matthews unable to finish. But this may end up being a basket. It is. They're going to call the goaltend. Matthews is going to get the bucket. Give Matthews 29, 10 better than his average. And this is just solid execution by Lipscomb. Watch this feed and tip your cap to Cam Miller. That goes back door, and it was up off the window there, and Moore got a piece of it. So giving the basket and having a sensational night. Has 2 30-point performances this year so far. Stretches the lead out to 10. And Buchanan battling back. And you talk about the big performances. You documented it earlier, but if folks weren't with us in the first half, 39 at Jacksonville on the 19th, which clearly is a season high for the sophomore and is an NCAA high for this Lipscomb Bisons team in their history. He's exploded for 29 tonight. You put that with the 26 scored by Marbury. And they've not been the only contributors, but their 2 performances head and shoulders above the rest. Yeah, they're solid players. There's no question about that. I thought I'd try to get Marbury going early on, went inside, and didn't shoot that many threes. And, you know, you knew it was going to kind of even out. They're a team that shoots about 28 per ball game, and they're about there now. They're going to make that. But they've got some pretty good pieces, and you know, Marbury is a solid player inside. I think, you know, Pepper's only got 4, but, you know, he gives you that presence inside as well and an ability to shoot the basketball. Matthews opens up a few things. Let's take a look at what's coming up for them. We alluded to it a moment ago that the huge game with FGCU on February 9th is the one you circled. You mentioned a chance to avenge that loss to UNF. That's coming up just beyond Valentine's Day on the 16th. Tom, what do those 2 guys have in common, Marbury and Matthews, 2 that will have to lead them through this upcoming slate? They're both from right there in Nashville, Tennessee. Franklin, to be specific, in the case of Matthews, but a little extra pride wearing the purple and gold for hometown kids who are leading Casey Alexander's charge through the conference.
Yeah, we talked about that at the outset, that 7 area players in Nashville are on this team. And, 3 are from Franklin, and they all 3 went to different high schools as well, and all very highly successful. I mean, as we do all these games, you look at the backgrounds of these young men, and in high school, what they've been able to accomplish as well, and in many cases moved on and have been able to do that at the collegiate level as well.
And rivals unite there in the Music City. That's the best news to fans of this Bison's basketball team. Well, Buchanan completes the play with the basket, which gives the Spartans mathematically a better shot with 1:06 to play. But now they begin to foul, and Tompkins will. Some of the fans here in the Hodge Center wanted to travel as Matthews stepped through the defense down in that corner. And this is where Upstate will have to get a little bit of help from a Lipscomb team that you get another look at it right here as he steps through and the foul called. Instead,
the other part about that is you look at the first part of that and looked like they might have stepped over and made contact before the ball was even thrown inbound. So opportunity.
Couple of breaks there. Said a Lipscomb team that doesn't help you much from the charity stripe will have to. There they did. First miss in the 17th try from the charity stripe tonight for Lipscomb. A rare miss from Matthews from the free throw line. Cunningham's 3 would have made it a 4-point game with 48 seconds. That perhaps was the last real shot the Spartans are going to have unless there are further misses for Lipscomb here from the line.
Yeah, had a pretty good look there and would have whittled it down just a little bit, but now going to go to the other end and step to the line. You talked about that a moment ago. It had 16 consecutive. Really one of the outstanding free throw shooting teams in not only in the conference but in the country. 76% in conference play.
Moran has it bounce, maybe touched every piece of the rim before it went in. And that makes them 17 of 18.
The other interesting aspect, I think, is we talk so much about their ability from three-point range, but also the ability to get to the foul line. He attempted as many and made as many as anybody in Division I. When you think you're a three-point shooting team, to a certain extent by those numbers, although we've seen they're much more than that. And the Citadel's the same way. Teams that shoot a lot of threes that do get to the foul line quite a bit.
They've made it count tonight. It's a great point, Tom, and it certainly has been one of the differences in this game. Cuthbertson just off. Buchanan struggling for the basketball as it go off his fingertips. Lipscomb with a couple of subs. Williams coming back. He's joined by Moran. A couple of players who also average in double figures alongside Marbury and Matthews. We'll keep it right here with 37.5 to play. Well, what impresses you most about this Lipscomb Bison's team?
Well, they've been resilient. This was an Upstate team came out, delivered the first blow. Upstate did lead at 23-14 in this ball game, and then a 12-0 run, and Lipscomb was right back in it. Of course, Lipscomb had a couple of runs in Nashville back on Wednesday to. At one point, it trailed by 21 in that game and came back and beat Upstate in that one. But you know what? Upstate had some answers as well. 2-point game at half. This is a Lipscomb team came out, hit a couple shots early, down 7. Upstate just seemed to play from behind for most of the game and could really never get over the hump. And it seemed like Marbury make a play inside or Matthews inside, pretty good inside-outside combination, I think, and they were able to kind of hold Upstate at bay and got that double-digit lead and then trying to finish it off here.
Spartans, you remember, took the lead in the midway point of the second half on that three-point play by Buchanan. But it was as if Lipscomb reinstalled their will in this basketball game at that very moment, and here they find themselves 36.3 away from picking up what would be a 6th conference win. You've got to remember, these are two teams came in playing very good basketball at the right time. Upstate winners of 8 out of 10. This, if Lipscomb is able to finish it off, will see to it that the Bisons have now won 10 out of their last 12.
Yeah, and they'd pick up a huge game on the road in conference play. And, all across the country, be it the ASUN or pick a conference, you need to defend your home court. I'll tell you, it's been a good year for Upstate, though. Think back to a year ago, 10-22, 4-10, really stuck with preseason number 8. Came in here at 5-2, but really, had an opportunity a break here or there that could have won the games against North Florida and also against this Lipscomb team that didn't do that. So this would be a big win for Lipscomb if they get it done here.
In better position on the road than they were at any point here tonight. But the Spartans did, as you said, have their moments in each of the 3 games that will now go in the loss column in conference play. Unless they are able to really pull something out here in the final 30 seconds, 29.5 to be specific.
Well, you talked about the ability of Lipscomb to score 86 points per game in conference play, 84.6 overall. So it's a team that can put some points on the board, and and defensively, I think they're good enough to be able to win quite a few ball games in this league. I mean, I was impressed with the way they played tonight. You talked about as Upstate made that run after they got down. Upstate had an 8-0 run to take the lead, and then all of a sudden it was 53-52. And then Lipscomb had an answer. They got a couple of quick baskets. One was off a steal right in front of us by Matthews, and then they retook charge of the game at that point.
Well, you talk about their ability to score a couple of different times. Look at the 104-85 win against Tennessee Tech. A 126-43 win against Fisk, obviously, but then a 112-95 win in conference play against Jacksonville. This is a team that's hit triple digits on a number of occasions this year, and they're not far from it here tonight, Tom. That is 28 points for Marbury, who is going to the line to try and make it 29, and the Bisons, if he hits this free throw, would be 8 points away. Obviously time a factor now, but 8 points away from hitting that 100 mark yet again. That's where they'll be. 92 on the board for the Bisons, 29 points apiece for Matthews and Marbury.
Well, remember last year, 92-91 in overtime. Won it here.
That may be the score that ends up holding that 92-point total a second straight year. Holmes through, has it rattle out. It's been a story for Upstate here in the second half. And Lipscomb, with Matthews bringing it up the floor, can just back it out and dribble out the final 3 seconds. A 12-point win for Lipscomb. They defeat Upstate twice in the span of less than a week. And 29 points apiece for the combo of Matthews and Marbury. That is nearly 60 of the 92 that the Bison score in victory.
Yeah, solid performance tonight. This was a big game in the league. I know we're turning it over, the 14 league games, and you're into the second half here. And then after Upstate got off to that 9-point lead and then able to reel it back in, a 2-point game at half, and had an answer in the second half, and then we bumped it up to 10 and then kind of held off the Spartans down the stretch. You were forced to take a couple of 3-pointers there that bounded away. But nice job by Lipscomb to get it done here tonight.
Casey Alexander and the Music City crew improved to 6-2 in conference play. That matches that great start from right around 2009-2010, and it puts Lipscomb alone for second position in the conference with visions of even more. This has been a presentation, as always, of ESPN, worldwide leader in sports. Thanks to everybody on our crew and you for watching. We'll see you next time.